seconded to a prison for 6 years, working with life-serving prisoners. And when I say to people, they say, oh, how do you work with those people that have done such abhorrent things? Well, I'm respectful to them, because if I need to get a good interview, my job was to assess risk, and the likelihood of reoffending. So if you're going to go in there dictatorial, dictating or disrespectful or undermining, you're not going to get the best. And when I say to my team now, who are just absolutely amazing, that I manage no differently to how I manage my team. My line manager, who said to me to go for the senior job, it's no different to managing offenders. And that really sounds bizarre, and a lot of people seem to take insult to that, but it is no different. And it's about being transparent, Yeah. I think I'm a firm but fair manager, and that kind of works well because we all need boundaries, don't we?
Welcome to Symplicity Conversations, where we explore the intersection of business, technology, and community. Today, I'm joined by Angela James, an accomplished professional whose career spans international borders and diverse industries. We'll discuss Angela's journey, what it's like navigating careers in the UK, and the confidence and resilience it takes to lead as a woman in today's world. But first, let's start with our Symplicity Insight. This is our famous quote of the day. I never limit myself. I always keep pushing because I know I can do more. And that's from Serena Williams. I love that, Angela, because we've known each other, 9 years now. And we have to push ourselves. Yeah. So be sure to subscribe to Symplicity Conversations to hear more stories of women shaping business and culture around the globe. So, Angela, I'm really excited that you're here. I know we've been talking about this. You've been here for the weekend. And, I've gone through such a rough time the last 6 months or so. And I think that having women in your life that you can have raw conversation with is so key. So I'm glad you're here to talk about it.
Thank you. I'm glad to be here. And we've certainly had some conversations, haven't we?
Oh, my gosh.
Me being British, and there's no conversation that we haven't had.
No. Yeah, no topics off limit. But sometimes I get a little...
Yeah.
But, I think that when you have friends or hopefully, have that girlfriend that you can just tell anything to and be really raw and honest and commiserate with and drink a little too much wine with.
And eat too much food.
Yeah, too much food, especially the little cheese and ham.
Yeah, absolutely.
Gosh, we've had such a great weekend. And I think that's important for, listeners to think about that. Do they take time? Because women tend to put themselves on the back burner. They've got all these different roles, mothers, wives, sisters, daughters, and they're trying to take care of people in all those roles. But they forget about themselves being the core. And, self-care, I've been focusing on my health journey the last 2 years, and I've lost 67 pounds. But I've also started strength training. So not just losing, but I'm reshaping things. And self-care to me is working out, but also maybe having a massage, doing something that makes me feel like me again. Because I think when you get lost, when you're in some, stressful situations, you get lost. Yeah. You lose yourself. What do you think?
Yeah, absolutely. And I think, I can only speak for myself. I think, I work in the criminal justice system, and it's an immensely stressful job. And I've been leading this pilot, and I've not taken much annual leave over the last year. And I feel like I have to give myself permission to take that leave, that I have to have earned it to be able to take that time out. Which shouldn't be the case, really, should it?
No, it shouldn't be. And we don't give ourselves permission enough, whether it's to have a dessert we want we just put so much pressure on ourselves. We talked a lot about that we just don't let ourselves just put ourselves first. And I think, when we want to go do something, I feel like we have to make an excuse for it and rationalize that. Whereas, other people, maybe don't need to do that. They just, oh, I'm going on a business trip. I'm just going. Like, don't have to think about what's left. And, I think it's important to think about who do you have in your life that you can be yourself with, that you can show up authentically and say, I'm a mess right now. I just need to commiserate about it. Or like success. I mean, I remember when I was up for the award Woman of the Year earlier this year, you were, on WhatsApp with me, just cheering me on. And it felt so good, even though you're in the UK and I'm here in the US, we still find ways to show up for each other.
Absolutely. Yeah. And it's interesting you talk about, I think when I look at my career, that, when I've been married, it was very easy for my then husband to go off on a business trip and not have to think about the children. And I think as a mum, we're having to think about, okay, the childcare. And then I was doing my degree when my children were very small, and that kind of having to do the university stuff and kind of juggling all that. And I often think, men are lovely. I'm not going to sit here and say, oh, men are bastards, all that kind of stuff,
Yeah.
But, I do think, a lot of the stuff, the responsibility does sit with us, doesn't it?
Yeah.
And to be able to work and to be a mum as well. I mean, my children are grown up, as you know now. That's hard work.
Yeah.
That's hard.
It is. But even when they're grown, mine are in their, mid to late 30s, we still think about, oh my God, are they eating? Are they safe? It never goes away. But sometimes I found that I didn't switch the care back to me. Like, okay, they're off, they're okay. But I still didn't take care of myself. I was still trying to take care of staff and putting, everybody first but me. And that's what's really changed. And I tell you, this last 2 years, when I've started saying, wait a minute, what do I want? Because I think if I can show up and feel more whole as a person, I can show up better for everyone else, and it's a change when you've been the nurturer and the fixer and the take care of everybody person for your whole life. My sister, Chrissy, teases me about that because she's my older sister, and then I have my older sister, Dee, and then I'm the fourth one of my mom's 5 children. And she said, Kat, it's like you're the big sister and I'm the little sister because you always take care of me and you always make sure I have. But I don't know.
And you know what? You have to be so careful when doing that. If you're somebody that nurtures and cares, you can attract the wrong guy for that reason. And that's,
I agree.
Yeah, it's not good. It's
no. And I think that being said, sometimes they can present as the right guy, and then it's a manipulation. And I'm not saying women can't do this, because I have examples of my best friend that had been taken advantage of too. So we're not saying that, but I'm saying as a person you have to really step back. And I think that using your friend group to kind of vet or help you see and make sure that, hey, what am I seeing? Is this genuine? That's really important, because you can get bamboozled. In fact, that was my last relationship. I mean, I was manipulated and taken advantage of, and I could see it from the very beginning. Now, looking back, going, oh my God, this was all planned out, intended to position himself to take. And, at first, what was interesting, when I was going through the annulment process, the first 3 or 4 months, I was full of shame and embarrassment, because I was a smart businesswoman. Like, I've had my company for 19 years. How could I let this person bamboozle me? But, I then, realized that, hey, he was just good at manipulation. And I think that, with, and even my family was like, Kat, he fooled us all, it's not just that.
And that happens, it happens in all walks of life, for a woman, whether you're a professional, academic or what, there's no kind of stereotypical, when you meet a man who is grooming you or love bombing you or whatever it is you call it over here, that kind of doesn't matter where you are, because you're dealing with people that are professionals. But, relationships can be fun, but they can be complex, can't they?
Yeah.
And I think we have to, I don't know if you look at the attachment theory, and about sometimes I always say you have to learn to love yourself before you can love another.
Yeah.
And there is some stuff that I know that, I have that throughout my life as a woman and got older that I've had to address, because I know that can have, some of my behaviours have had impacts on others, good and bad,
Yeah.
It's not always easy.
It isn't. And I think that as you think about, your role over the years, you've worked in profiling and talking with and respecting, criminals in the justice system, right? So, man, that had to be challenging to, how do you show up and, work with people that seem to be very good at managing people.
Yeah, I've seen and worked with all walks of life. I was seconded to a prison for 6 years, working with life-serving prisoners. And, and when I say to people, we were talking about this on the way to the car, that, I manage a team now, so I'm kind of removed from the front line in the service. But, when I say to people, they say, oh, how do you work with those people that have done such abhorrent things? Well, I'm respectful to them, because if I need to get a good interview, my job was to assess risk, and the likelihood of reoffending. So if you're going to go in there dictatorial, dictating or disrespectful or undermining, you're not going to get the best. And when I say to my team now, who are just absolutely amazing, that I manage no differently to how I manage my team, and I remember my line manager who said to me to go for the senior job, it's no different to managing offenders. And that really sounds bizarre, and a lot of people seem to take insult to that, but it is no different. And it's about being transparent, I think I'm a firm but fair manager, and that kind of works well, because we all need boundaries, don't we?
Yeah, we really do. We really do. And what do you think has been the most rewarding part of your career over the years? And I know it's changed, because you were doing that, and then you had a life situation where you went into teaching for a year, which, oh my God, could not do that. Teachers do not get paid enough for that job.
And then I became a head of year. I mean, that was all eye-opening as well for 13-year-olds.
Oh my God.
I'd been in the criminal justice system for a long time, and then I had an extremely, I'm going to call it traumatic time for my family.
Sure.
And one of my children was seriously unwell, so I had to step out of my career to care for him, because he was very, very poorly. So I stepped out for 2 years, and then I kind of just worked locally, and I did some teaching, and then I was asked to become head of year, and I became head of year, and then this opportunity came up to run this pilot. And I just, I went for it, and I love a challenge, and it's been hard work, and it's been a huge success. And we're now going across the west of London, and my next task is we're going to go pan London. Of course, I have those that are kind of hold the purse strings and have, above me, that are kind of supporting me in that and managing that. But it's been good.
How do you define success? What does it mean to you?
It's interesting, isn't it, about success? Because, I've been in relationships where a man has said to me, you're not successful. I do feel I've been successful, and I don't think it's about the salary you earn or the money. I think I've been successful in leading this pilot. I think I was successful when I was on the front line. I think it's just people having that respect, and I think I inspire people, and I think that partly as being an older woman as well. And my team have come into the system quite new, and I've got 25 years experience. doesn't make me the kind of the one who has the wealth of knowledge. You know, they bring different skill sets in. But yeah, I think success for me in my career is that just leading this pilot, but also as a mum, because, you know, I wasn't always the perfect mum, but I think I've been successful in that I have 2 children who are kind, good people, who don't judge, who aren't discriminatory. You know, they're not rude or disrespectful. And I think that's success as well.
For sure.
Maybe not so much successful on the marriages, but
you know, that's we call them chapters, right? We've had chapters because life is a journey, and you know that's one of my really feelings of myself that felt broken was why, you know, why did I make the choices I did? Why did I get married and divorced? And I feel like I could point and say I have a really good reason for this one. I think you know my ex left. I have a daughter. I had my first daughter 2 months before I was 19, because I had gotten married right out of high school, and then I had my second daughter when I was 21, a couple months after I turned 21, and my ex had left about a month before she was born. So I was 2.5-year-old and a newborn single mom, you know, and I've heard the term now solo mom because he has never been around. My daughter, who's 36, my youngest is 36. The last time she saw her dad, she was 14. And she maybe has seen him 4 times in her life. There's no interaction. And so I think that I've had to have this, you know, trying to create families. And so I kind of look back and go, that's what I was trying to do. I was trying to create families for my 2 daughters and I. And there's so much trauma that can come from that for them, for, you know, you as a woman. And I know for me, I have felt like, what's wrong with me? I can't seem to get relationships right. But somebody a while ago, because I said, you know, I feel like the dented can when you buy at the grocery store going, oh, I don't want the dented one. Put that back and let me get, you know, a fresh one. And I thought, am I the dented can that keeps getting put back? And somebody said, how about that it's not you? Maybe it's them, that they couldn't show up and be enough for you. You're already enough. So I've kind of had this saying of, you are enough. And we have these, when I earned my red jacket at Intellisys, you know, Intellisys, your ex worked at Intellisys, and it took me 12 years to earn Platinum Partner, which then earned me the right for the red jacket. And I just did my little red jacket unveiling ceremony. We get to put this little saying. It has our initials in our. I'll have to show it to you. Oh my God, it's in my closet. We have to come in my closet. But it has my signature and my initials, and it's custom. It's a red blazer. But underneath the collar, I got to put a saying, and my saying was, "You are enough," because I wanted it to tell me that no matter what, no matter the failures, no matter the successes that I have, that I'm always enough. And I think that we have this baggage that we carry throughout our life, and it just kind of ebbs and flows. And we have these strengths and we have these, you know, knock us down. But it's about these expectations that people around us put on us. And there's some that are absolutely not supporting. They look like they're supporting, but at the real side of it, they're jealous and they don't want you to succeed. And this year has, getting a little emotional, this year has been about a lot of success. I think because I was going through this situation with an ex, that I feel like the universe just threw so many amazing things, like making Platinum Partner after 12 years, the Woman of the Year Brilliance ceremony, winning Woman of the Year. That's kind of crazy. just the awards that we won as a company, for the Women Business Enterprise. So we've had these things, these accomplishments as a team that kind of, I felt like the universe was putting its arms around me saying, I got you. Doesn't matter what this negative over here is, I got you. And I think that's what these girlfriend relationships that we need to have. You need to step out of your normal. If you're a mom and your kids are small, find somebody to take your kids, go for a night, sit and just find somebody that you can just dish crazy stuff about. Like, we've talked crazy stuff the last 4 days. But it's healing, Like, we're in West Michigan. Put your feet in the sand, and that fixes the soul, right? You do that in your area.
I think my whole life since one of my children was very poorly, my whole life is completely changed now. I don't think I will ever get over that, and nor my family. And unfortunately, he's doing well, but that really just changed my perspective on life. It was 2020, and I know it's a cliche, but your health is your wealth.
Yeah.
If you don't have your health, you have nothing. You have very little. So I think coming out of the marriage that I'm coming out of now, I think for a long time I'd always wanted to leave that marriage, and then because life changed and I had to leave my career and, care for my child. But the relationship I have now is very different to relationships that I've had in the past. And I think, if we talk about relationships, I think the relationship for me now has to kind of be like the cherry on the cake. Once I, get my house sold and I buy my own house, I'm independent. And I gave that up years ago, and that was a big mistake.
Yes.
I should never have given up my financial independence when I went into this marriage. And I'm going to get that back. And I think when you have that, that does kind of give you more choice.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, for
However,
sure.
It was very difficult for me to get out of that marriage because I didn't have the financial money to be able to get out of it. But I just think my relationship is my new relationship was not new. We've been together for a couple of years, but it's wonderful because it's simple, because we just, we like going on holiday where someone's simple, getting our rucksacks, or after work, he lives near the beach, so going to the beach and just swimming in the North Sea, which is really cold, Catherine, not like the seas
totally.
here. And walking and just doing things like that, really, and having quality time.
Yeah.
And being able to have my children come over. He has a farm, so life is very, very different now.
And we are the only people that can change, right? We can't. It definitely is circumstance. Like, I struggled getting out of my last relationship because I didn't want to admit failure. And then I remember my mom had bought this Alaskan cruise for me, and my mom doesn't have money to do that. And she just, for my birthday a couple of years ago, she did. And so last year I ended up taking that cruise by myself and found the strength to say, I don't care what people think. This is not right for me, and I need to not let this continue. And that's such a hard thing for women, I think, to admit. But what I found in the end was people that love you want you to be happy. That's the first thing. That's it. If you are, like, I was so miserable for so long that if my family really knew that, they would have been like, change it, whatever. But I didn't want to admit it. So I think really being honest with yourself, and I'm not saying jump ship too soon, but I'm saying if like you've got to think about that and figure out ways, and you have to make that change. You can't wait for somebody else to change.
No, and that can take time for lots of reasons. It's not easy to get out of a relationship. And, I've been in 2 marriages, and I don't have any shame I don't feel a failure. It just didn't work out, and life goes on, and I'm not being dismissive about that. I quite openly say I've had 2 marriages. plenty of people do, it's,
Yeah.
I don't apologize for anything like that. I am very much who I am. I've gone through my life, I think being tall as well, where people say, oh God, you're a bit intimidating, or, you're quite opinionated. Yeah, I have an opinion, but I'm never rude or disrespectful in that opinion.
Right.
I'm just a woman that if I have an opinion and it's valid and I have that conversation, whereas again, we're blaming, we're not blaming men, as I said earlier, men are wonderful. But I think when you work in a profession where men or think you're aggressive because you're being assertive, yet a man can be assertive, or we can be assertive and we're seen as aggressive, and yet men, I've got to get this right, who are assertive aren't seen as aggressive.
Right,
and there's all that kind
right.
of stuff. But I'm not growing old gracefully. I always say I'm growing old disgracefully.
Oh, I love that.
I'm just not, I do try to conform. Obviously, I don't know if having to, I guess it goes back to this whole of what we have of our expectations of how we're society, how they expect us to be. So it's that kind of, you go to school, then you might go to college, then you might go to uni, then you get engaged, then you get married, then you go on holidays, then you have children, then you work, and then you die.
The expectations.
And that's a societal thing, isn't it?
Yeah.
That's the social norms that we're supposed to adhere to. And oh my God, if I had my time again in my life, I so wouldn't follow that pattern.
Yeah.
It's I mean, people do, and that's great, but I just think, I try and have fun, and and I am who I am now, and I'm not going to make any apologies for that.
But that comes in our 50s. I mean, I'm turning 58 next week, and I feel like, they say 50 and fabulous, but I think there's this sense that we grow into where it's like, we just don't care. Like you have to stop caring what people think.
Oh, totally.
And I think that that's been my experience the last couple of years going, anybody that loves me just wants me happy, but anybody that would judge me for ending a relationship that was not good for me, and that I wasn't good for that person deserves somebody to love them, let them go find that.
Yeah. I look at my daughter, she's 31 and she's a professional, and I look at her now and I think, gosh, if that's you at 31, I don't know what you're going to be like when you get my age, 55, because you're quite robust and kind of go get. And I admire her in that. But I suppose I give credit to myself there, because her fiance always says when we're out with my boyfriend Walter, Rob will say, "Gosh, look, there's the mirror. Like looking at the same person."
Right.
But she had a different kind of upbringing. I had parents that didn't encourage. I was the only girl of 3 boys, and we were. I was kind of encouraged to be the stay-at-home mum and all that kind of stuff. But and Bryony hasn't. So I look at someone like her now, and I think, you've got a great life ahead of you, an opportunity, and you're this independent professional woman, and that and I'm very proud of who she is and what
as
she's
you
become.
should be.
Yeah.
I think that we've walked a different path, whether it's, it's evolved, because, we were considered bossy instead of, I always tease my granddaughters, because I have 5 granddaughters and 1 grandson. And it's like, I always look at it and say, it's leadership skills. It's not being bossy. Right. But they all have very unique personalities. And I think that what I see in my daughters that are in their 30s, like Bryony, they just have a different air about them. Like, they are not afraid to speak their mind but yet somewhat still have, like, my daughter's a nurse as well, my oldest daughter, Nicole. And sometimes I do feel like she'll hold herself back and say, should I go for this position? I don't know if I qualify for everything. And I'm like, women have to look at a position and meet 100% of the qualifications, and then they still think they're not enough, right? Whereas, a man might look at it and go, that's interesting, I'm going to go for it even if they only have 10% qualifications. So I've seen that over my career, and I feel like that is changing a little bit, nudging, but there's still a long way to go. I'm involved in a group called Inforum, and, we are moving the needle a little bit, but it's still a lot. But I think it's up to us to really affect the women in our lives and keep nudging them to say, hey, you are enough. It's okay. And, to keep pushing them to stop holding themselves back when just go for it. I mean, it was so funny the other night when we were after dinner, we walked by Rosa Parks Circle and they were having the swing dance.
Yeah.
And we could see these two young girls, looking over at the boys across the circle. And I kind of looked at this a couple of times and I walked over and said, just go ask them, and they just kind of giggled like, oh, and oh, it's too late. I'm like, what's the worst they're going to say? No, but we don't find that confidence when we're younger.
Although I have one of my team members is 24, and she'll say about relationships, I'm happy and content now, and I go, it should be law. You shouldn't be in a relationship until you're over 25 at least,
shouldn't it? Yeah.
I say to her, Erin, no, don't even think about having a relationship. Enjoy time, and you're at the start of your career.
Yeah, I think there's still this fairy tale with girls of I gotta grow up and get married and have kids.
Well, as I said, the social norms, those expectations that are put on us, and I think it is changing. And like the pressure for women to have babies. I know plenty of people, and I've got friends who have never had children, and that's okay, good for you. Yet we're kind of deemed as selfish if you don't want to have children. It's just live your life how you want to, and I certainly do, because I've got less life ahead of me than I have behind me.
Yeah, true.
So
potentially, we don't know, but I think.
Well, I hope so. Hope I'm not going to keel over.
Yeah, me too. Me too. I need you for a while. You're a good influence. You're a professional wine drinker. I'm the amateur, but I'm the professional shopper.
You are.
And you're the amateur shopper.
Yeah, shopping. I hate shopping, Catherine.
But
How
you
do you do shopping?
You love sunglasses. You brought 4 pair.
I did. I bought them from the vintage shops.
Yeah. See, that's it. I love consignment shopping. It doesn't matter how much or how over my years. I mean, I was homeless with my girls at one point. I have not had a lot. And so it's hard to, when you do start having paychecks, it's hard to get out of that habit. So I buy a lot of my clothes at consignment or clearance. And I feel like then I justify getting more.
Yeah, absolutely. You've worked hard and you've earned it. I mean, I don't think I'm high maintenance. Anybody
Angela,
that knows me will
you're
be.
high
I don't
maintenance.
think, I love a frock, as I call it, and I love a dress. And
we are high maintenance. But
you
we
are, Catherine.
But we pay for our own high maintenance.
Yeah, you are, Catherine. You're definitely high maintenance.
In a good way. I'm not a diva about it. I'm not really snarky about it most times.
Yeah, so
I can be.
I think,
but I try to apologize when I do. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, high maintenance can be that just by the way, places you want to eat and drink and the clothes that you wear. But you can also be high maintenance, I guess, in a relationship, can't you, emotionally or whatever. But my daughter's fiance does think I'm high maintenance, but I'm nowhere near as high maintenance as my daughter. I mean, she's a complete and utter diva. I follow her on Instagram and I'm like, where are you now? Where are you travelling to now, or what are you eating? Aww. And, what restaurants are you going in? And I think good for her because she works damn hard.
Isn't that cool to see? Like, you made that. Like, I made my girls. And, to see them, like my daughter does the same thing. Both of them love to travel. Nicole has this great friend group. And last year, her and Alice will hop on a plane and go. They just went to Montreal for like 3 days. They're like, Alice lives in New Mexico and Nicole's in Florida because they met her husbands in the Air Force. They just, we're going to go to Montreal for the week for 3 days. And I'm like, I love that. And she uses points. She has hotel points. She's just a master at that. And so they went to Sweden last November. I mean, like, how freeing is that? Like, I feel like I haven't done that. Like we stay connected and we make sure to get together, and now we have to have, annual trips together. Although I don't know if I can get into the UK, I might still be deported, which I didn't realize that was, somebody told me, because I got deported from the allied nation, the UK.
You did, didn't you? I remember that.
I did. I kind of tease. I can laugh about it now. I was not laughing that day. But yeah, I say I'm an international criminal. But no, I just had a curmudgeon for a TSA agent. You do not. I mean, I am very I was just in a good mood, and I think this guy was not having it, and he flagged me, and they wanted me to come home and get a visa, which you don't need a visa to go to the UK for 6 months. But I was looking at starting a business. So Angela saw me on my worst day, but yeah, it was crazy. So I'm petrified to go back to the UK. I got to figure that out because I got to come back.
And chucked in prison.
Yeah.
No, you wouldn't, Catherine.
No.
I think there
I'm
were worse.
such a rule follower.
I know.
Isn't that
there
crazy?
Are worse things than that.
Well, especially because I had just gone through global entry here. So I knew that I had just gotten my country fingerprinted and did all of the stuff. And I'm like, the worst thing that I do of offense, I think, is maybe speed a little bit in the car. I mean, but definitely not anything crazy. So it was just an unbelievable situation to have that. But it's important to find your village, find your tribe, wherever they are. And we talked about this last night. You have to be intentional. You have to make time. I have to, I use WhatsApp with you. So I have to stop and go, God, I got to open that WhatsApp and send.
You need to put your notifications on.
I know.
You do need to make time, Catherine.
Yeah.
Yes. And, I know we were out for dinner last night with, friends of yours. And you do. You have to, for a relationship, hey, listen to me, 2 marriages down, the advisor.
It's life skills.
Yeah. But you do have to invest. Because I don't think in my second marriage there was time invested from my husband into the relationship. And I think if you're investing time into your work, your career, your business, whatever, you do that because it's got to grow and it's got to develop. And if you don't do that in a relationship, then it's just not going to develop or grow, is it?
Yeah. Yeah. No, you're 100% right.
So I know we were lecturing you last night about that, weren't we?
You were. But that's okay. You're allowed that. You guys are people that I love and care about, and I need
time out.
Input. Yes, sometimes.
Anyway, when you sent me these questions, and and actually you haven't asked any of them.
No,
that's fine.
well, a couple. I've snuck a couple.
But there was one I remember, and it was where would I go on holiday?
Yeah. Yeah.
And are you coming with me? So I think this holiday would be really good for you, Catherine. So I think we'd go to Tanzania. So I've been on safari before, and we'd go safari, but there'd have to be some rules for you.
It would have to be bougie because No.
So my daughter's actually going. I think it's Tanzania. So she is. You can actually put your tent up, and my daughter being my daughter.
A tent? I cannot tent.
This is for her honeymoon. So she was like, "There's no way I'm putting up my tent on safari." So this fiance of hers, who I say signed up to this life sentence. Said, okay, we'll get the one. What are the tents? They're nice tents, Catherine.
Oh,
but so we could
does that
do
have a
that.
lockable door? I need to make sure no
You'd
creepy
have the Maasai
crawlies.
warriors and all that. They'd be protecting you, but there'd have to be rules. You wouldn't be able to bring a suitcase. You'd have to just be a bit like when I travel to Europe. You just need your. I mean, I love pink and a frock, and I like to be girly, but there's stuff I want to be robust. So you can't bring a suitcase. Handbags.
Angela, we went on a 3-day weekend, and I had a very large suitcase.
I know.
And other things. We went down to the beach and had to have a wagon.
That was incredible.
Wasn't it though?
I mean, that trolley that we went down. I mean, I usually go down to the beach. Walter, my boyfriend, has a little rucksack. Even the dog stuff is in that rucksack.
Well, we had to have blankets and towels. And
I know. It was a high-maintenance beach day.
Yes, so we are a little high maintenance.
So the safari is going to be that you can't, no handbags, no fancy shoes. You can bring your moisturiser and a bit of lippy.
Oh,
But
no.
yeah, that's it. You can have a big rucksack.
No.
I've got a big rucksack that you could use. And yeah.
I just need to make sure nothing.
And no mobile phone and no emails and no working. Could you do that?
No, I don't think I could.
Even for 3 nights, 4 nights?
Yeah, I don't know. I'm just
Think how therapeutic that would be. Put the mobile away. You see, we have this rule. And we've had it since the children were small. I mean, I guess mobiles came around when they were about 10, 11. No mobiles on tables.
Yeah.
You know, if you can't get that mobile away when you're having dinner or supper or lunch or whatever. So you'd have to hand the mobile over to me.
Okay, let's get to some questions now that we're towards the end. What is your favorite vacation spot besides Tanzania?
Well, I haven't been to Tanzania, but I'd like to go. I've been to I think with Walter now, I mean he's in farming, so we're very much dictated around, you know, when he's harvesting, all that kind of stuff. We're quite lucky because we live in Norfolk, and it's lovely there. It's very beautiful. We've got beaches, but I think there's so many places I'd like to go to still. You know, I've travelled lots over my lifetime, but I kind of quite like Europe, somewhere just small where you can just take the rucksack or a little bag. I bet if Walter ever sees this, he thinks, Angela, you don't do that. I do, though. I do.
Yeah.
So there's so many places in Europe I still want to go to. But I like simple. I like
bougie.
Yeah, you do. And opulence is okay. And it's nice to dress up for dinner. But
clearance price. I like to go, like my favorite place is Paris, but I like to use hotel points and be in a nice hotel.
Yeah, I get that.
With
you Americans
points.
do that, don't you? You see, we don't have that.
Yeah.
So I don't mind. You know, I quite like dressing up for dinner, but I like it when you've just been on the beach all day and you can just go back and have a shower and get a bottle of wine out or go out, you know. I find all the effort of having to do the damn hair and the makeup a little bit of a chore when you're on holiday.
Yeah.
So I'm sure there are people listening to this and go, you don't have to do that. I know. But I like kind of quite simple.
Yeah.
But having said that, I do like to go somewhere culturally where I can learn about a new culture.
Yeah.
I think this year when I went to Mallorca was the first time I laid on a beach for a week, actually.
Really?
Yeah, I usually up and around, but I needed that. I kind of wanted to I think we had 4 or 5 days there. So
yeah. What's one beauty product you can't live without?
Oil of Olay, but it's Olay now, isn't it?
Oil of Olay. Okay, moisturizer.
Moisturizer.
Yep.
I have to moisturize my skin every day.
Yeah. If the building was on fire, you would grab that.
Yeah, because you know when you have a shower, your skin is just so tight, isn't it? So yeah, I'd have to have my. It's a really old product, isn't it?
Yeah,
and it's been around since the 60s, 70s.
Yeah.
But anyway,
what is your guilty pleasure TV show?
Oh, you know what? This is
just telling me.
You know Love Island, right?
I've just talked to somebody else about that. I've never seen it.
You know what? So I've watched some of those series, and then I didn't. And then I said to Walter, who's so not a Love Island guy, but I said, oh, come on, it's about compromise. You know, watch Love Island. But it's funny because I think we have this expectation, this snobbery around what programs we watch because it defines us. Utter rubbish. I mean, I grew up, my son's autistic, so he watches, I've watched thousands of documentaries over the years, you know, David Attenborough. So but for me, I've had a stressful day. I want to just go and watch it. So I've got 5 new team members and I went into work last week and I went, hey, who's watching Love Island? They all looked at me like, you know, and I'm like, what? Why are you not watching Love Island, you lot? Come on, get on board.
I'm going to have to watch Love Island.
But it goes completely against everything that I believe. You know, I'm a feminist, right? And it goes completely against everything, my value base as a woman that, you've got all those stereotypes in there, haven't you?
Yeah.
You know, all these, and the men in there are just everything the epitome of everything I don't like in a man. You know, judging a woman by her body.
Yeah.
You know, by her looks or a shape of her boobs or whatever, and her bum, and you know, and it's just so superficial. I mean, it's just so crass and horrible, but I love it. Although it's completely against what I believe in.
Yeah. Well, I think it's sometimes you need to step out of the norm. Yeah. What is your favorite UK holiday?
UK holiday.
UK holiday.
Well, I'd have to say, not that I probably haven't done the only time we did the UK was when we had lockdown, when we kind of couldn't go far, went to Cornwall. But I think now I'm in Norfolk during the summer, because, that's when farming tends to be busy, although Walter would say not, because it's not had much rain. But I'd say Norfolk, probably just going down to the beach there.
Really? Okay, if you could have dinner with any woman, dead or alive, who would it be? Mine.
Well, you know what? And people are going to go, why? Joan Collins, right? Joan Collins dynasty, right? I mean, the woman's 92, and they say, again, this kind of stereotype that she's kind of high maintenance.
So she's an author.
But I think for me about her, and I was having this conversation with Walter, actually, and he was saying, his would be the Queen, and I'm so not a royalist. Sorry, guys, I'm not a royalist. And we won't get into that.
No.
But, and for me, Joan Collins, I mean, she's had 5 marriages.
So boy, does she have some stories.
We've got a way to go, Catherine. We've got some catching up to do to get to Joan Collins. But I look at, she's 92 and she was acting from the 50s. And I think what women had to overcome there. I mean, you look at Hitchcock. I don't know if you've ever seen the movie on Hitchcock, how cruel he was to his women. And, what women had to do to kind of get to where they are. And, her first
can't even imagine
raping her, and all these men taking advantage of her. They're married,
I can appreciate that.
Yeah, they get married, and I think her children also talked about how she wasn't always there, but yet she would say, well, I've had to put food on the table. So I would just, she probably wouldn't be, I probably wouldn't even like her. But I just think what she did acting in that kind of time and that. Yeah, and
that's
we know she's had a facelift, and we know she's had but do you know what? Who cares?
That's right.
Do you want to have a facelift or do bits to your body? Then
go
get
for
on
it.
With it.
Yeah,
but
it's all about making yourself happy, right?
Yeah. And so I think it would be Joan Collins, because she is a diva.
Yeah,
and 92, she looks great for 92.
Yeah, mine is Princess Diana. I know what you think, but. I don't know. I just, when somebody can do good for others. I mean, I remember reading a story about her with one of her causes. She's like, if I just stand in the middle of the picture, it'll make this cause more successful. And just having that insights to say, I just want to help. So if it means me being in a picture and then more donations will come in for that cause, that is an amazing cause. And I love that she's instilled in her sons to do that charity work, Do
all Americans love the royal family?
No, I don't think so. I think that...
Because everyone I seem to speak to, when I'm over here, first they go, I love your accent. And they're like, do you know the royal family? No, I don't know the royal family. I know of them, of course, but I don't know them personally.
Isn't that funny? The first thing they think, do you know them?
Yeah.
I have a funny story. They're my cousins. That's for another podcast. Maybe on the next podcast that I bring you back next year. But oh my God, Angela, we've got to wrap this up. But thank you so much for coming on and as always making me laugh and sharing. I love sharing who I am. So that people that listen to the podcast or share them, just kind of get a glimpse into who I am. And this is who I am. And I am a better person because the amazing people in my life. So thank you so much for being here.
And, you're very welcome. And I think I just end on that. They always say, look at the 5 people. And I used to say this when I was in education. The 5 people closest to you are a reflection on you. So choose wisely.
That's right. Well, I choose you.
Thank you.
And thank you for listening to Symplicity Conversations. Don't forget to subscribe, leave a review, and connect with us at thesimplepodcast.com. See you next time.